Hello YouTube, this is a short introduction to Git. We will be using local repositories. So let's go into our terminal, and depending if you are using Linux or Windows or whatever, the installation will be different. So for Linux, you can use a command, just using git, and this should appear if you have git installed. If you do not have git installed, then you can do sudo apt install git, and that will install Git for you. Or if you're on another operating system, you can reference the website, just Google Git, and you should be able, I'll put it in the description, you should be able to find the GUI or something. So starting off, let's create a directory, and let's name it Git Practice. Let's go into that directory and we see that it's empty. So let's navigate to that directory using our terminal. And so we can do cd desktop and git practice. Okay, so now we're inside our directory. So what we do from here is now we have to use the command git init, which basically initializes the necessary files in order to create a Git repository. So let's go ahead and do that. Git init, and as you can see, we have a confirmation that initialized empty Git repository in our directory. So if we go to our directory, we see, well, nothing's here. So however, it is a hidden, they are hidden files. So if you show the hidden files, you can see that Git has created all these subdirectories. Okay, now that we have this, we can move on to something to actually demonstrating the use of Git. So we can create a new document and name it characters.txt, and let's open this up, and let's say our project is going to have the following characters. Let's say we have Jim. Let's say we have I don't know, Phil and Johnny. Okay, so we save that. Now we go into back into our terminal, and nothing so far. So if we say git status is basically a command that shows you the status of the repository, and it says, well, untracked files, we have characters.txt. So it's keeping track of everything that's happening in the directory. So we want to now add this to our queue, basically, in other words. So we can say git add, and then we can say characters, since we are in the same directory, .text, and nothing really happened. But however, if we check git status again, we can see that now we have a new file that we can commit to. So let's see what happens. So assuming that you have never used Git, if you never use Git and you try to commit, basically committing is basically once you have added the files that you want to keep track of, you can use git commit to actually start keeping track of what happens to those files, such as adding an extra character or adding more code or any information that you add to those files that you have selected. So we can say let's say we say git commit commit, and we want to write a message saying initial characters. Now, however, this will not work if you just set up Git, because you have to configure a global username and an email. So in order to do that, we have to type this in. So we say git config, say git config global, and then we say user dot email, and put any email you want, 123@gmail.com. And then we have to config our now we have to configure our username. So we can say user name, and our username could be John. Say that. Okay. So now that we've done that, now we can actually commit. So we could say git commit, and then we can /m for a message, and we can say initial characters. Okay, it says 1 file changed, 4 insertions. Interesting. Do we add 4? Oh, I guess it counts the space. So the space is 1 insertion, but it's supposed to be 3. Doesn't matter. Okay, so so now if we check git status, our queue or whatever is being ready to be saved, you can kind of think of it as opening applications, and then committing is saving the files and the work that you've done with those applications. So git is basically grabbing the information, and once you commit, it stores that information. So if we check the status, it says nothing to commit, working directory clean. Okay, nice. Now another important command is git log, and this one basically shows you, it shows you the reference number of the commitment, it shows you the author, so your username and your email, and it shows you the date that the commitment was done. So let's say we want to see what's new about this, or what happened in this commitment. So we can go ahead and copy it, and we can say git show and paste our commitment, and we can see here that it shows exactly what happened to the file. Now let's go back into our file, and let's say this is a project where multiple people are working on it. So let's say you have someone named Billy. He's gonna go ahead and add some things that you wanted done to the application or to the project. And let's say we told them to add 3 new characters. Let's say we told them to add Raphael. I don't know if I'm spelling this right. Mike and Donna. But Billy, since he is rookie or he's new to programming, he accidentally added one more name, and he added Yoshi. Oh no. So he saves it, he goes back, and he, under his account, of course, you know, in working field, you have your own account, but he basically, if we see the status, you can see that it noticed that there was a modification. So if we say git add, we cannot commit yet, we have to add it again to the queue. So we have to say git add and characters dot text, and if we see the status again, we see that now we can commit because this has been modified and it's giving it permission to commit, basically. So if we say git commit and we write a message saying Billy's update, it says here 1 deletion and 4 insertions. So let's see what happens when if we check the status again, and it's clean. So if we check our log, now we have 2 commitments. So we have Billy's update and we have the initial characters. Okay, so what does that mean for us? Well, Billy, see, this is a very small file, so we can clearly see the error. Yoshi does not belong here. So in order for, when you're working with a bunch of code, you make a lot of silly mistakes, and sometimes debugging a program is more time consuming than starting from a point where everything was working okay. So let's try to do that with this text file using Git. Okay. So we know that this update was just off. So let's try to get back to this time zone. Let's try to get back to when the application was under this commitment. So if we go here and we say git checkouts, and we specify, ooh, what just happened? Okay. So I pasted it, and so it basically, so you have, since you're in the directory, well, since I'm in the directory, and the text file is in this folder, we don't have to give it a root or anything. But if you were in, let's say, a multiple directory project and you're at home, you can, depending on the file you want to check out or the change you want to make, you can specify the location of the file over here. So see, what happened was it says basically initial characters is basically now what the commitment that we were at. So the file changed to this instance of the commitment. So if we look back at our files, I close it, I guess. If we look back, we can see that we're at the original spot where we were for the first commitment. So this basically can save a lot of time and a lot of effort, especially when you're dealing with multiple file projects. One last thing before I wrap up is logging out. So the way we can log out is we can use git config again, and we could say global, and we do unset, and then we say user.name. If I enter it and I do git the same thing, but this time with email, and we check, let's say, I think it's clean, or yeah, okay, so let's say I add git characters dot text again. Oh, let's add it. And now if we check the status, it should be there. Oh, it doesn't even work because you are not logged into the directory. You're not logged into the repository. So changes using Git will not work, or anything related to it. This is all. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know how I can change videos for the future, or what topics you guys would like me to cover. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.